Every single day, we find ourselves navigating a world filled with moments that test our patience, push our buttons, and challenge our composure. It might be a snarky comment from a coworker, a missed deadline that throws your entire schedule into chaos, or a careless driver who cuts you off in traffic, leaving you gripping the steering wheel in frustration. In those moments, our instinct is almost always the same: to react, to fight back, to argue, to prove we're right, or to let the world know we won't be pushed around. It's a natural impulse, one that feels justified in the heat of the moment. But what if I told you that the most powerful response you could ever have is no response at all? Welcome to the art of not reacting. It's a skill so deceptively simple, yet so profoundly transformative, that it has the potential to completely change the way you experience life. Imagine a life where you're no longer held hostage by your emotions, where you don't feel the need to engage in every battle, or prove yourself in every argument. A life where you can rise above the noise, maintain your peace, and let your silence speak louder than any words ever could. Sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? But stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see why silence, when wielded intentionally, can become your greatest superpower. Let's break it down. When someone says or does something that triggers you, your immediate reaction is often fueled by emotion. Anger, frustration, or even hurt. And in that moment, your brain is screaming at you to do something. To defend yourself, to set the record straight, to make sure they know they can't treat you that way. But here's the thing. When you react impulsively, you're handing over your power. You're letting their actions dictate your emotions, and in turn, your behavior. You're essentially saying, "You have control over how I feel and what I do." And that's a dangerous place to be. Now, imagine a different scenario. Instead of reacting, you pause. You take a deep breath. You let the moment pass. You choose not to engage. What happens then? Suddenly the power dynamic shifts. By not reacting, you're no longer playing by their rules. You're not giving them the satisfaction of knowing they got under your skin. You're not wasting your energy on something that, in the grand scheme of things, probably doesn't even matter. Instead, you're preserving your peace, maintaining your dignity, and showing yourself, and the world, that you're in control of your emotions, not the other way around. But here's the real kicker. When you don't react, you create space. Space to think, to reflect, to respond, if and when you choose to, from a place of clarity rather than chaos. You give yourself the opportunity to decide whether the situation is worth your energy, or whether it's better to simply let it go. And more often than not, you'll find that most things aren't worth the fight. Most battles are fleeting, and most people's actions say far more about them than they do about you. The art of not reacting isn't about being passive or letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing your battles wisely. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and peace of mind are far too valuable to waste on things that don't truly matter. It's about understanding that sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is nothing at all. Because when you don't react, you're not avoiding conflict. You're transcending it. You're rising above the noise and showing the world that you're unshakable. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that tests your patience, I challenge you to try it. Take a breath. Pause. And ask yourself, is this worth my energy? More often than not, the answer will be no. And in that moment, you'll discover the incredible power of silence. Because silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a statement. It's a declaration that you're in control, that you won't be rattled, and that your peace is non-negotiable. By mastering the art of not reacting, you'll find that life becomes lighter, less stressful, and far more enjoyable. You'll start to see that most of the things that once bothered you simply don't have the power to anymore. And that, my friend, is the true magic of silence. It's not just a response. It's a revolution. And it's one that can change your life, one unspoken moment at a time. Let me tell you a story, one that might feel all too familiar. Picture this. You're sitting in a meeting, surrounded by your colleagues. The room is buzzing with energy, ideas are flying back and forth, and you've just shared a brilliant thought. One you've been mulling over for days, maybe even weeks. It's a game changer, a solution to a problem that's been plaguing the team for months. You feel a surge of pride as you present it, confident that your contribution will make a difference. But then something happens. A colleague, someone you've worked alongside for years, takes your idea, repackages it as their own, and presents it to the group as if it just sprang from their mind. Just like that, your moment is stolen. Your heart starts to race. Your face flushes with heat. Your fists clench under the table. You want to stand up, call them out, and set the record straight right then and there. How dare they? You think. This is my idea. But instead of reacting, you pause. You take a deep breath. You feel the anger bubbling up inside you, but you don't let it spill over. You don't say a word. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. That pause, that split second of silence, becomes your moment of power. Because when you don't react, you take control. You stop being a puppet to your emotions and start being the master of your mind. Let's unpack this, because what just happened in that meeting is a microcosm of life itself. We've all been in situations where someone says or does something that feels like a personal affront. It could be a colleague stealing your idea, a friend making a thoughtless comment, or even a stranger being rude to you in line at the grocery store. In those moments, our emotions scream at us to do something. To fight back, to defend ourselves, to prove that we won't be disrespected. And while that reaction might feel justified in the moment, it often leads to regret. You might say something you can't take back, escalate a situation unnecessarily, or worse, give someone else the power to dictate how you feel and behave. But when you pause, when you choose not to react, you break that cycle. You create a space between the stimulus, what happened, and your response, what you do about it. And in that space you find freedom. Freedom to choose how you want to handle the situation. Freedom to decide whether it's worth your energy. Freedom to rise above the noise and maintain your peace. That pause is where your power lies. It's the difference between being reactive and being intentional. Now, let's go back to that meeting. Imagine if you had reacted in the moment. You might have called out your colleague, exposed their dishonesty, and reclaimed credit for your idea. But at what cost? The tension in the room would have skyrocketed. The focus of the meeting would have shifted from solving the problem to managing the conflict. And while you might have felt a temporary sense of vindication, the fallout could have been messy. Your colleague might have felt humiliated, your boss might have seen you as difficult to work with, and the team dynamic could have been damaged. But because you paused, because you chose not to react, you avoided all of that. Instead, you gave yourself time to think. Maybe you realized that your colleague's actions said more about their insecurities than about you. Maybe you decided to address the issue privately, in a way that preserved the relationship and still allowed you to reclaim your idea. Or maybe you recognized that your work would speak for itself in the long run, and that taking the high road would ultimately earn you more respect than engaging in a public confrontation. Whatever you chose to do, it was a decision made from a place of clarity, not chaos. And that's the power of not reacting. The truth is, life is full of moments like this. Moments that test our patience, challenge our composure, and tempt us to react. But when we learn to pause, to breathe, and to resist the urge to engage in every battle, we unlock a new way of being. We stop letting other people's actions control us, and we start taking control of our own lives. We become less reactive and more intentional, less stressed and more at peace, less caught up in the drama and more focused on what truly matters. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that triggers you, whether it's a stolen idea, a rude comment, or something else entirely, remember the power of the pause. Take a breath. Let the moment pass. And ask yourself, is this worth my energy? More often than not, the answer will be no. And in that moment, you'll discover the incredible strength that comes from silence. Because silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's a choice to rise above, to stay grounded, and to protect your peace. Mastering the art of not reacting doesn't mean you'll never feel anger, frustration, or hurt. It simply means you won't let those emotions control you. You'll learn to respond, not react. To act, not explode. And in doing so, you'll find that life becomes lighter, less stressful, and far more enjoyable. You'll start to see that most of the things that once bothered you simply don't have the power to anymore. And that, my friend, is the true magic of the pause. It's not just a moment of silence. It's a moment of transformation. And it's one that can change your life, one breath at a time. Here's the truth, plain and simple. Reacting is easy. It's automatic. It's the path of least resistance. When someone says or does something that triggers you, your emotions flare up, your body tenses, and your brain screams at you to do something. It's a primal response, hardwired into us from centuries of evolution. Fight or flight. Defend yourself. Protect your ego. Prove you're right. It's almost effortless to react, because it doesn't require thought. It doesn't require intention. It just happens. But here's the thing. Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right. And just because it's automatic doesn't mean it's serving you. Not reacting, on the other hand, that's a choice. And that choice is where your true strength lies. When you don't react, you're not just sitting back and doing nothing. You're actively choosing to take control of the situation. You're deciding not to let your emotions dictate your actions. You're creating space. Space to think, to understand, to respond with intention instead of impulse. And in that space, magic happens. You regain your power. You reclaim your peace. And you show yourself, and the world, that you're in charge of how you show up. Let me break it down further. Imagine your emotions are like waves in the ocean. They're constant, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming. You can't stop them from coming. You can't control their size or intensity. But here's the key. You don't have to surf every single one. You don't have to let every wave carry you away. When a wave of anger, frustration, or hurt rises up, you have a choice. You can jump on it, let it sweep you off your feet, and ride it wherever it takes you. Or you can stand still, let it crash around you, and watch as it recedes back into the sea. By not reacting, you let the wave pass. And you stay grounded. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you let a wave of emotion carry you into a situation you later regretted? Maybe you snapped at a loved one in the heat of the moment. Maybe you fired off a passive-aggressive email to a coworker. Maybe you engaged in a pointless argument with a stranger online. In those moments, you weren't in control. The wave was. And when the wave finally passed, you were left standing there, wondering why you let it take you so far off course. But when you choose not to react, you break that cycle. You step back and observe the wave instead of being consumed by it. You remind yourself that emotions are temporary. They rise, they peak, and they fall. And while they might feel overwhelming in the moment, they don't have to dictate your actions. You can feel the anger without lashing out. You can feel the hurt without shutting down. You can feel the frustration without losing your cool. And in doing so, you stay grounded. You stay centered. You stay you. Now, let's take this a step further. When you don't react, you're not just avoiding conflict or preserving your peace. You're also giving yourself the gift of clarity. In the heat of the moment, when emotions are running high, it's almost impossible to see the situation clearly. Your judgment is clouded. Your perspective is skewed. And you're far more likely to say or do something you'll regret. But when you pause, when you create that space, you give yourself the opportunity to see the bigger picture. You can ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What's really going on here? Is this worth my energy? And more often than not, you'll realize that the situation isn't as dire as it seems. That the person who triggered you probably wasn't acting out of malice. That the thing you're so upset about won't even matter tomorrow. This is the power of not reacting. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging your feelings without letting them control you. It's about choosing how you want to show up in the world. It's about recognizing that you have the power to decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And when you start to practice this, when you start to let the waves pass instead of surfing every single one, you'll notice a shift. Life will feel lighter. Relationships will feel smoother. And you'll feel more in control of your own happiness. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that tests your patience, remember this. Reacting is easy, but not reacting is powerful. Take a breath. Let the wave pass. And choose to stay grounded. Because when you don't react, you're not just avoiding a moment of conflict, you're creating a lifetime of peace. And that, my friend, is where your true strength lies. Let's be honest for a moment. Reacting feels good in the moment. There's a certain rush that comes with letting your emotions take the wheel. When someone pushes your buttons, firing back can feel satisfying, like you're standing up for yourself, reclaiming your power, or setting the record straight. But here's the catch. That momentary satisfaction often comes at a cost. How many times have you reacted in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? Maybe you said something hurtful to someone you care about. Maybe you escalated a situation that could have been resolved peacefully. Maybe you burned a bridge that didn't need to be burned. Reacting might feel good in the moment, but it often leads to regret. And regret? That's a heavy burden to carry. Now, let's flip the script. Not reacting? That feels like freedom. Freedom from drama. Freedom from stress. Freedom from saying things you don't mean or doing things you can't take back. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about mastering your emotions. About recognizing that you can feel anger, frustration, or hurt without letting those feelings dictate your actions. It's about choosing how you want to show up in the world, rather than letting the world dictate how you show up. And that, my friend, is where true freedom lies. So, how do you start? How do you go from being someone who reacts impulsively to someone who responds with intention? It's simpler than you might think. The next time you feel the urge to react, whether it's to a rude comment, a frustrating situation, or a careless mistake, pause. Just pause. Take a deep breath. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. That breath is your reset button. It's your moment of power. And in that moment, ask yourself one simple question. Asterisk, will this matter in an hour? A day? A year? Asterisk. If the answer is no, and let's be real, most of the time it will be, let it go. Let the wave of emotion pass. Let the other person have the last word. Let the situation unfold without your input. Because here's the truth. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every comment is worth responding to. And when you learn to let go of the things that don't matter, you free up space for the things that do. But what if the answer is yes? What if the situation will matter in an hour, a day, or a year? In that case, respond. Don't react. There's a big difference between the two. Reacting is impulsive, emotional, and often destructive. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional, thoughtful, and constructive. When you respond, you do so with clarity, with calm, and with control. You take the time to think about what you want to say and how you want to say it. You consider the other person's perspective. You focus on finding a solution rather than assigning blame. And in doing so, you not only resolve the situation more effectively, you also maintain your integrity and your peace. Over time, this practice of pausing, breathing, and choosing not to react becomes a habit. And like any habit, it starts to transform not just how you handle stress, but how you live your life. You'll find that you're less easily rattled, less prone to drama, and more focused on what truly matters. You'll start to see that most of the things that once bothered you simply don't have the power to anymore. And you'll realize that when you stop reacting to everything, you start living with intention. Living with intention means being deliberate about how you spend your time, your energy, and your attention. It means focusing on the things that align with your values and letting go of the things that don't. It means showing up as the best version of yourself, even when the world around you feels chaotic. And it all starts with that simple pause, that moment of choosing not to react. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that tests your patience, remember this. Reacting might feel good in the moment, but not reacting feels like freedom. Take a breath. Pause. Ask yourself if it's worth your energy. And then choose to respond, or not, with clarity, calm, and control. Because when you stop reacting to everything, you start living with intention. And that is true power. It's the power to rise above the noise, to protect your peace, and to create a life that feels light, purposeful, and fully your own. And isn't that the kind of life we all want to live? Remember, the world will always give you reasons to react. But the choice to not react? That's yours. And that choice changes everything. Stay calm. Stay in control. Stay powerful. If this message resonated with you, if you've ever felt the weight of regret after reacting impulsively, or if you're ready to embrace the freedom that comes with not reacting, then this is your sign to take that first step. Hit the like button to let me know this spoke to you, because sometimes a simple pause can change everything. Want more insights like this? Subscribe to the channel and join a community of people who are learning to live with intention, master their emotions, and rise above the noise. Every video is designed to help you unlock your inner strength and create a life that feels lighter, calmer, and more purposeful. And if you know someone who could use this reminder, whether it's a friend who's always caught up in drama, a family member who struggles with stress, or a coworker who could use a little more peace, share this video with them. Because the art of not reacting isn't just a personal superpower. It's a gift we can all share to make the world a little kinder, a little calmer, and a lot more intentional. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Together, let's transform how we handle life's challenges. One pause, one breath, and one intentional choice at a time. See you in the next video.